Now, thank you very much. I'm a little scared of the slide presenter because I can see... Oh, worked. Wow. Now, I'm sure most people are familiar with EnergyAustralia, but I thought I'd start with the purpose of our company purpose, because to me, I'm going to talk about behavioural demand response trial that we're operating at the moment, and this really starts to me with the distributed energy demand response. Customer participation in our industry is really the key to actually cracking the energy trilemma to deliver clean and affordable, reliable power. The other aspect of this trial is that it gets to a lot of the elements of the charter, really around putting the customer at the centre of the design that we're doing, and trying to increase affordability, improve sustainability, improve the customer experience. And from the previous talk that we were at, I was thinking that really getting to the heart of what actually does the customer want to know, because it's true that everybody in our industry gets really quite excited about a lot of data. It's not obvious that people outside of our industry want to get excited by the same data. Certainly in my family, I'm the only one who's interested in energy data. So the demand response trial I'm going to talk about is behavioural demand response. It is a subset of a program that we're running with ARENA and AEMA to pull together and maintain a 50 megawatt demand response portfolio, really under reliability. So it's to support reliability under the RERT program. The key objectives of the trial, as I was going to say before, it's really to unpick what are the customer motivations, what kind of incentives, what kind of engagement will get people to get involved. And we're using a range of things from behavioural through to batteries and direct load control, but this one's very focused on the behavioural. What would it take to get people to respond? The process we go through it's quite iterative, but it really starts and centres on the customer. We have a range of customer interviews, surveys, feedbacks. We run a trial, we send out surveys, we get feedback in. We did quite in-depth surveys with people, did a small number actually in people's homes, talking about what they were doing and what they were experiencing in their own world. We use staff. We're quite an engaged group of staff, and we can obviously take them further, and we do a lot of surveys. The themes you get out of it, and no real surprise, I mean, we know it must be really easy for people to get involved, like to sign up in the first place to participate, but also to make a decision when they're in the process. Transparency and fairness around the way that information is, the way their performance is assessed, so that they can understand it. Now, through that we've run several iterations of a trial, and we've now got up to about 9,500 customers enrolled in behavioural demand response. We start off with fairly clunky, simple messages. We get a lot of our enrolments by EDMs. We send out emails to people and we ask them to respond. And we're actually getting a response rate 2-3 times what our marketing people tell us is reasonable. We're up in 4% response rates, and we've simplified the process so that people can get straight through and sign up. We've made the messages, when people do get a text, in the primary way they engage, we give them a text saying, now is a trial period. Now is a power response period. Can you please reduce your use? We give them some warning to that, some advance notice, and then a notice when it begins, a notice when it ends, and some results after. We're actually just starting a new trial where we're linking people into a much more rich engagement environment where they can see how they're performing at the time. Some of it's kind of motivating, and I know you probably won't be able to see it, but we kind of moved away. We've got a lot of feedback that at the end of trials, when it worked, people should get a positive. We have, and so now we start with we did it, and that's really good. We get good feedback, but the very last trial we did was on Friday the 25th of January, and when I got that text message after just spending a couple of hours wrangling the kids who are at home on holidays in a blackout, it didn't really feel like we'd done it in that sort of way. So I was wondering how many of our cohort had found that not quite so motivational that day. But it does work, and it can work, and we've now got reasonable numbers so that we can actually see the big pattern across there. And so we want to dwell on this. So this is the 24th of January. So it's just before. So in Victoria, it was very hot. Been hot for a couple of days. On the Friday, as I said, the system tipped over. But on Thursday, it got through. We ran the trial from 5:30 to 7:30, and we did across 8,000, a bit over 8,000 customers, almost a bit over half of whom responded, and they delivered sort of about half a kilowatt each, which is pretty good. And you can see this classic pattern up on the slide. You've got the dark part is we're using the KCO 10 of 10 baselining methodology. We've agreed with AEMO. This is the methodology that they put forward for the demand response mechanism a few years ago. And so the dark area there is that calculated 10 of 10 baseline. What would it look like over 10 previous days? The lighter blue is the adjusted up, because it's increased because people are using more, and so you can see it up there. And so that red line up there, that's the calculated baseline of what they would have been using otherwise. The blue line drops down and shows you the response that occurred. And so, we've got a lot more work to do, a lot more trials to work out, how much can you expect to get from an event in certain circumstances. This is a pretty good day. It's, it is hot, and it's in the media and the systems at stress, and people know about it. But there's a lot more to learn. I mean, it is really surprising. So this is the rest of that day. So the top one there is just really showing, if you put everybody together, including those who didn't respond, you can still actually see that the pattern did respond. People, overall it did, but the baselining methodology calculated that they used more. And the reason it did that is for the people who didn't respond. Now, because we're getting survey results back on how many of these people did actually respond, but according to the baseline, they didn't respond. And you can see there hopefully you can see a red line just sort of in the middle there. And that's what the machine is saying, that's what that calculation is saying, that's what they would have otherwise used. But you can see in the shape of the blue, that's not true. And it's shifted because they started their increase for the day later in the day, so they didn't get the adjustment up. Solar impacts it a lot. If you've got solar in the middle of the day, you actually produce really well at that time, so you actually got a negative. And so in my case, on the next day when the load shedding went through, I used more because I would otherwise have been exporting. So suddenly I'm not exporting to the grid. So there's lots of things to learn around the data. I'm going to unpack it and feed it into Arena's knowledge share and understand how do baselines work in this area. The other one that just definitely time to stop. But another one that came up just watching that last day is we went into administered pricing, and that's not something that has really been thought about a lot. So that when administered pricing came in, the market is at $300, and so demand response then runs into a challenge as to where the incentive comes from.